नमस्ते एभ्रिवान, म भुवन शर्मा कोस्मीको तर्फबाट आज अर्को मेन्टरिङ 101 को सेसन लिएर आएको छु। यो लास्ट 2-4 एपिसोड चाहिँ हाम्रो इन्ट्रोले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अलिकति कन्फ्युजिङ भइरहेको थियो। सो आज आई वाज वेल प्रिपेयर्ड। म त्यही के अरे 3 to 1 मा बसिरहेको थिएँ कि, सो जस्ट रेडी टु गो भनेर। सो एज यु नो, मेन्टरिङ 101 चाहिँ हामीले वी ब्रट इन इन्ट्रेस्टिङ पर्सनालिटिज जोबाट चाहिँ हामीले केही सिक्न सकौँ, केही एक्सप्लोर गर्न सकौँ, उहाँहरूको सक्सेस स्ट्राटेजिज अथवा उहाँहरूको मिस्टेक्सबाट केही सिक्न सकौँ, ताकि त्यही मिस्टेक्स हामीले फेरि दोहोऱ्याउन नपरोस् अनि उहाँहरूको सक्सेस स्ट्राटेजिज हामीले चोरेर अथवा रेप्लिकेट गरेर मेबी वी क्यान डु इट बेटर विदाउट गोइङ थ्रु द सेम मिस्टेक्स भनेर आजको हाम्रो गेस्ट हुनुहुन्छ Pranayna Kc जी। सो सी इज डन सो मच होइन। अब मैले सबै लिस्ट गरिरहन पनि गाह्रो हुन्छ। सी इज एट अ भेरी यङ एज सी इज बिन अ सिबिओ, हेड अफ ब्रान्ड एन्ड डिमान्ड, अनि अब सिइओ अफ इको इन्फिनिटी, जहाँ चाहिँ उहाँले चाहिँ भनौँ न हाइएस्ट सेलिङ ई स्कुटर इन नेपाल विदिन अ इयर भनिरहनु भएको थियो, क्रसिङ ओभर कति 100,000 किलोमिटर्स। So yeah, and also making NIU the first registered e-scooter in Nepal, होइन। अनि I've also seen her videos on LinkedIn के, अनि very inspiring। अनि I'm sure उहाँको अहिले जुन प्रोफेसन छ त्यसबाट अलिकति डाइभर्ट भएर मोटिभेसनल स्पिकरतिर पनि उहाँले कहीँ न कहीँ जानुहुन्छ कि जस्तो फिलिङ आइरहेको थियो। सो आई वाज भेरी इन्सपायर्ड। आज बिहान हेर्दाखेरि पनि इट गेभ मी अ लट अफ एनर्जी। अनि सी इज हर प्रोफेसन मैले बुझेअनुसार चाहिँ स्टार्टअप म्यानेजमेन्ट एन्ड ब्रान्डिङ कन्सल्टेन्ट। अब यो हामी जुन बेला चाहिँ कोर्सेसहरू छानिरहेको हुन्छ क्यारियरमा के भन्ने, आफ्नो प्रोफेसन के चुज गर्ने भन्दाखेरि यो हाम्रो दिमागमा कहीँ पनि पनि आउँदैन छ। सो आई बेयरली नो वाट इट इज। तर प्रणयनाजीसँग आज लेट्स आस्क एन्ड फाइन्ड आउट। नमस्ते।
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, that's a very crazy introduction, but hopefully I'll be able to give some clarity on what my professional life has really entailed.
So yeah, what is it?
So I started my career as a customer service agent in Vodafone Australia, होइन। अनि म चाहिँ कस्तो भने academic हिसाबले चाहिँ I've actually done communications, gender studies, and I've actually done masters in public administration, होइन। तर career wise चाहिँ to give you a simple word, I'm a generalist. I'm not a specialist. It's become an era of generalist, and like leadership positions recently, I think, have required more general skills. So I actually started as a customer service agent, went on to become business development manager in Western Australia. This was in Nepal, where I started dabbling into marketing. So I was working for Vespa in Aprilia. So I was the head of marketing there. This was master's going to public administration because I realized Nepal ma startup matra haina. If you look at private sector in general, I don't think we can do anything without policy being in synchronicity of what we want to do. I know private sector ma pani. So मैले चाहिँ नेपाली को ब्यान्ड म पनि त्यस्तै थिएँ, अहिले त्यति छुइनँ, भन्थे नि ए नेपाल यस्तै हो, के नै हुँदैन. So I actually wanted to understand यो policy भन्ने कतिको गाह्रो हुँदो रहेछ. So I did my master's in public administration, हैन. अनि Singapore, you know how we have this reference, Nepali politiciansहरूले Singapore जस्तो बनाउँछु भनेर. I was like, so what is so great about Singapore? And I finished my master's there. And त्यो सकुन्जेलसम्म चाहिँ I actually got an offer to become the CEO for Eco Infinity, हैन. Which was still again very different from telecommunication, petrol's two-wheeler environment, because it was very engineering focused, it was very tech driven. Two-wheeler matra bhanera hudaina, it was very tech driven. So, and त्यसपछि I went to India, where I was the head of brand and demand for an MNC called Frost & Sullivan. त्यसपछि I was the head, like chief business officer for Hopscotch Health, भन्ने health tech company थियो. It was a startup. Now, what you see on my LinkedIn profile specifically, startup or branding consultant, consulting is me basically imparting everything that I've learned in 11 years. So you चारवटा देश भनौँ, चारवटा देशमा जति पनि सिकेँ professionally and personally पनि, त्यो business acumen branding acumen, let's say, my main objective right now. It's the first time in my adult life I have actually taken a break. खास के भयो भने पेन्डेमिक हिट भइसकेपछि चाहिँ म मुम्बईको अपार्टमेन्टमा एक्लै I was stuck for 7 months के अनि it was like a spiritual awakening of sorts भनौँ न, because I don't think expansion is very comfortable. एकदम 7 महिनासम्म I had zero human contact. So what I actually wanted to do was I wanted to take a break from working. किनकि मैले काम गर्न कहिले पनि बन्द गरेको छैन, 11 वर्ष भइसक्यो. I've continuously worked. So I actually wanted to take a break, and what I wanted to do in Nepali startups scenario particularly, I wanted to impart knowledge that I've received and I've had the privilege to learn. And I wanted to help startups think of long-term strategy. So I temporarily, I'm just working as a consultant to impart knowledge that I've learned, to make it simple.
मैले यति flooding of information भयो नि त, so I'll try and slow it down a little bit, Pranayna ji, if that's okay. म अलिकति तपाईको प्रोफेसनल उसमा आउनु भन्दा पनि what was your childhood like?
Wow, this is so interesting. And the coincidence, I'm sorry I bombarded you with so much information, but I recently training गर्छु. I try to summarize my professional experience in a few minutes, so I apologize for bombarding you with so much information. My childhood, so I am the fourth daughter in my family. And one of the videos, I think that one of my videos that got a lot of engagement was where I talk about that experience, being raised by a father who sat me down on a dinner table and talked to me about politics. So my childhood was, and he always insisted on never having an empty hand, which basically meant we had to be reading all the time. So we weren't allowed to watch a lot of TV, and he was like he's a health fanatic, so we had to exercise a lot. So my childhood was very focus on your body and then focus on your mind. So that's how I grew up. And my three sisters are exemplary when it comes to what I've learned and imbibed. But to be very specific, I'll just tease. I'm actually writing a book for kids. That's something I'm doing on the side as well. And it's actually about my childhood. That's why I found it a little funny. And it's actually about me. I was a dreamer when I was a kid. I still am. I used to have, a crazy imagination. My childhood was this balance between being very, loving books, thinking about health, eating almonds and exercising and skipping. And the other side was believing in this imaginary world. So my childhood was a great balance between those two.
Okay, nice. मलाई चाहिँ त्यो फर्स्टमा जुन त्यो इन्फर्मेसनको फ्लडिङ आएको थियो त्यो I wasn't overwhelmed or anything, तर it was nice कि मलाई खाली यति धेरै इन्फर्मेसन आयो कि there were so many questions I could ask, अनि I just kind of froze or something like that. हामीलाई चाहिँ भनौँ न अहिले युथहरुसँग कुरा गर्दाखेरि पनि मोस्टली दे से politics भनेको चाहिँ it's a dirty game, I'm not interested, I don't want to talk about politics. So if you were discussing politics with your dad from early on, do you think youth should be involved in politics? They should be at least aware of politics?
Absolutely. I don't think it is a question of should or should not. Like, it is actually, let me rephrase that. It is a matter of we should, okay? Because I don't think we can distance ourselves from it. Politics, it's not just parties that are fighting for a certain position in the government. Politics, it's also the road construction that happens in your neighborhood. It's also the policies that govern your education, your healthcare. About American politics, it's one of the most popular and well-known political environment in the world. It's so important for people to be involved in the policy making and what we should ask, because it affects you at the end of the day. So I think this concept that politics is all about different parties, whether you're left-wing or right-wing, centralized view, okay, I don't think it's that necessarily. That's why I think my policy education, the administration really helped me understand that. बाटो बन्दै बन्दैन यति धेरै खाल्डो छ भने त्यो एट द एन्ड अफ द डे पोलिटिक्सले नै अफेक्ट गर्ने हो नि त. सो आई थिंक वी शुड also change that conversation a little bit and to answer your question specifically, we should definitely be involved because it affects our day-to-day life.
Okay, so as someone who's close to 45, how do what can we do to motivate young people to talk about politics more? किनभने त्यो distance also बढ्दैछ. The more filth we see in politics, young people are moving away from it, to the extent कि they're leaving the country. भनौँ न, यो देशै बरु छोडेर जान्छु. I'm just too tired भन्ने खालको त्यति young उमेरमै. So what do you think people in our generation can do to try and motivate young people to at least discuss this?
Wow, that's actually a very heavy question. But I'll actually share with you what my dad did. He changed the conversation. Okay, so that's what he did, right? He will never sit. When we have breakfast in the morning, we usually read the newspaper together. He doesn't talk to me about Prajatantra and Rajtantra. He doesn't talk about these very particular words that I probably won't relate to as much. You words are use but democracy sounds a lot more relevant to us. So what I actually mean is changing the conversation. Again, like when my dad talks to me, he talks to me more about how these policies affect me. So making the conversation more relatable is something I think can be done. Again, I don't have the answer. तर मेरो केसमा पर्टिकुलरली मेरो करियर प्रोजेक्सन हेर्नुभयो भने तपाईँले जुन चाहिँ कुरा निकाल्नु भयो नि पोलिटिक्समा इन्भल्भ नभएर या इफ यु डोन्ट इङ्गेज इन दोज काइन्ड अफ कन्भर्सेसन्स वी फिल लाइक वी कान चेन्ज एनिथिङ अनि एपाथेटिक हुन थाल्छ क्या हामी केही पनि बदलिँदैन नट बिकज वी डोन्ट केयर बट बिकज वी बिकम होपलेस अनि त्यो सोचेर हामी जान्छौँ तर चेन्जेस भनेको अब टु गिभ यु एन एक्जाम्पल अब अहिलेको स्टार्टअप इन्भाइरोमेन्ट हेर्नुभयो भने देयर आर सो मेनी यङ अन्टरप्रेन्यर्स that have stayed in Nepal, that have actually तपाईँले जो मान्छेहरूसँग कुरा गर्नुहुन्छ अहिले हेर्नु न भन्नुभएको जस्तै they're young people who are actually staying here, not even thinking about leaving and giving their heart and soul to starting a company. And it gives me so much pleasure. So I think the scenario is definitely changing. We're becoming more hopeful towards what's to come. But at the same time, it's also the conversation is changing, okay? Focusing more on the people that are staying back, focusing more on things that are working. Can you change the IRAs? It will take time, of course, but focusing more on the great aspects, the positive aspects, being more optimistic and focusing on those stories, I think these conversations will really help us think about politics from a different light, but at the same time, feel more hopeful about what is to come in the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much for highlighting that. Obviously, there are so many people coming back as well. जो चाहिँ अमेरिका अस्ट्रेलियाबाट फर्केर आएर चाहिँ यहाँ इन्भेस्ट गरिरहनु भएको छ चाहे त्यो एग्रिकल्चरमा होस् चाहे अरू कुनै एन्टरप्राइजेसहरूमा होस् सो एब्सोल्युटली देयर सो मेनी थिङ्स द्याट आर गोइङ राइट आई कम्प्लिटली एग्री You said when you were growing up you were kind of a dreamer. So if you look back at it now, has that done anything positive for you as a person or in your career?
So one of the people that I love listening to is Simon Sinek, right? And he talks a lot about optimism, which is very, very difficult. But ड्रिमर भएको कारणले सानो बेलामा म नेपालमा हुर्किए पनि I used to believe in Wizard of Oz and Jack and the Beanstalk, and I used to believe that the guava tree will take me into the skies. It really helped me personally. It helped me stay more optimistic about the world. किनकि म जहाँ गए पनि that dream, that imagination never left me. किनकि I faced a lot of racism when I lived away. I made a freshman year. I actually lived in Kentucky for a year. America, I didn't go to a big state. I actually went to a very small state. But a personal life, man, it just helped me stay grounded and believe in my truth, which was anything is possible. Imagination, when I say so, anything is possible. Dreams are not limited. There's not a box that it fits into. So personally, no matter which country I lived in, no matter what I was doing, it helped me stay grounded and optimistic and still dream and not give up on that. Professionally, again, professional life, you face racism and sexism. And also being young and being a minor doesn't really help. The professional life, being a dreamer helped me think of the bigger picture. And the strategy, specifically strategy session, I always tell them, there's a particular term I use. I say get on the balcony or get on the rooftop. There's something I learned in my master's class. But get on the roof or get on the balcony because I'd be able to look at the bigger picture. And because the fact that I'm a dreamer, my bigger picture was always in something we say big, hairy, audacious goals once. In the professional world, might say my goals used to be big, hairy, and audacious. So luckily enough, because I found a balance, I was also able to achieve a lot of things. Just a quick example, Vodafone customer service agent ma kaam garदाखेरि, if I wasn't a dreamer, I would have never believed that I would have been able to become a manager to that extent. I got 4 promotions when I was working for Vodafone. But being a dreamer made me believe that I can be anything. So tomorrow maybe I'll become a CEO, which I did for a startup. That because I was a dreamer, personal, professional life, I was always able to look at the bigger picture. So it always helped.
Awesome. Being a dreamer made me believe I could do anything. I could be anything. Awesome. यो डिस्क्रिमिनेसनको कुरा गर्नुभयो नि त, सो रेसिजम सेक्सिजम द होल आइडिया दुइटै कुनै पनि किसिमको डिस्क्रिमिनेसनको आइडिया चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि इज टु मेक the other person feels small, right? Less worthy. So apart from your being on the balcony technique, which I think I'm going to steal as well, it's an amazing technique to look at things from associated नभइकन emotional नभइकन हेर्ने. त्यो बाहेक, are there any other strategies you employ to keep yourself kind of keep your head above water when you're facing such challenges?
One of my favorite words is empathy. And being empathetic actually has helped me. There are actually 2 things I'd like to point out. One is empathy, and the other is security, self-assurance. Empathy भन्नाले कस्तो भने, I have realized that a lot of people, and that's actually one of the reasons why I started doing videos for LinkedIn. Okay? One of the things I realized is people are not aware that they're being sexist. A lot of the times people are not aware that they're being racist. Their intention is not to put you down, but their intention, it also comes up from a place of insecurity. Okay? Racism or sexism भनेको कहिलेकाहीँ चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ भने, if we don't understand something as people, if we can't put it in a box, a concept or an idea or a person, we start to feel uncomfortable. As human beings, we start feeling uncomfortable, and it makes us feel insecure. Because it makes us feel insecure, we tend to project it on other people. So we tend to project this sense of, you're not good enough, I don't understand this. So racism and sexism, I've realized, comes from a lot of place of insecurity. So that's why, one, empathy helps because I always try to understand or be more empathetic towards the other person and not react immediately. I've also learned to develop patience because of empathy, because I will always understand that, wait a minute, this person is not necessarily trying to put me down. Maybe they don't know what they're doing. Maybe it's not intentional. And it's not 100% of the time. But most of the times, people are not trying to be mean or put you down. We have to believe that there's good in people. So empathy kicks in then. Second, security. I am self-assured. Confidence has been something that I've developed over the years, and I work on continuously. I don't think confidence is like a pill you take and actually confidence I constantly work on. The confidence or self-assurance afu secure you don't project it as well. Okay? We don't react as much, and we are able to react to any situation with a lot of patience, with a lot of calm, and we take time to react. So something that has helped me throughout my life is making sure that I am coming from a good place. I'm very secure in my skill, in my ability, and in who I am, and then practice empathy for the other person and give them the benefit of doubt as well.
Okay, practice empathy, and we have to believe there is good in most people. Absolutely. So there's positive intention behind most of our actions. You've said key confidence isn't something that you can take a pill and then it is cured. So what do you mean by that? Constant work गरिरहनुपर्छ confidence को लागि भनेर, अनि what would be some of your tips? कन्फिडेन्सको लागि?
You know what I love about your questions? Like everything has an action point. So there's a takeaway from each one of these points. I love that about how you frame it. Um, so something I do, actually, more recently I've developed it. I've started doing more affirmations. So if I was to give a tip to someone on how to develop confidence is to start practicing affirmations. Start being good to yourself. आफूले आफूलाई ऐनामा हेर्दाखेरि आफूसँग कुरा गर्दाखेरि be kind to yourself. It's something that I say. You have to be kind to yourself, and that's how you start developing confidence. It's okay to accept that I don't know everything, that I might not know this. It's not like everyone is perfect. No one is perfect, to be honest. But to be able to accept your strengths and celebrate that, and also accept that you have weaknesses, but it's okay. You will have enough time and opportunity to work on that. So confidence for me also comes a lot from recently it's an affirmations battle. I am kinder to myself. I am nicer to myself. And that's given me a lot more confidence. किनकि lack of confidence भनेको lack of self-esteem बाट आउँछ नि त. Sometimes when you stand in front of a crowd, you're like, oh, what if I make a mistake? Or what if I'm not good enough? अरूले के भन्छ? अरूले के सोच्छ? आफूले आफूलाई माया गर्न थाल्नु भयो या आफूसँग काइन्ड हुन थाल्नु भयो भने what other people say will affect you less. I'm not saying it is not going to affect you. I mean, that is going to take a lot of work. We've grown up in a society to care about people and to care about what people think. भने हाम्रो सोसाइटीमा त भन्छ नि ए फलानाले के भन्छ छिमेकीले के भन्छ आफन्तले के भन्छ तर आफूले आफूलाई माया गर्न थाल्नु भयो या if you're kinder to yourself that becomes easier to deal with. You're afraid less. So affirmations definitely has helped me. And the other thing is you have to know that almost everyone is scared. Okay? So for me, I've done public speaking for majority of my life. School I've been talking to huge crowds of people. I've hosted events. I've done it in different countries. That every time I go on stage, I always get nervous. Like I was nervous before I spoke to you. And I do videos every week. But something that helps me is that I'm not nervous, I'm excited. Because it's the same kind of emotion, right? To tummy alikati, butterflies in your stomach and your hands get a little sweaty. Well, guess what? When you're excited, your body reacts the same way. So tell your mind, hey, I'm not that nervous, I'm excited. And you can trick your mind. And most of all, just be kind to yourself. Nobody's perfect, and neither are you. And it's okay if people judge you, they're going to do it anyways. So just be kinder to yourself. That helps with confidence.
Okay, just be kind to yourself. I mean, yeah, good to know that you are feeling a little nervous or excited. So I was feeling the same. I actually mentioned it to you. I was, there's always this feeling. Yeah, but my question saying, would it be interesting enough, or would it bring out what I wanted to bring out? But you're absolutely right. Everyone is afraid, some of the time at least. So I was watching this video of yours this morning. And you were saying, affirmation केही बारेमै नै हो. Are you proud of you when you're by yourself? भन्ने किसिमको भिडियोजहरू राखिरहनु भएको थियो. अनि that one video itself gave me a lot of positive feelings. अनि it was awesome, होइन. अनि त्यसपछि मैले नेक्स्ट भिडियो हेरेँ जहाँ चाहिँ you were talking about joy and happiness, or success. Like success was a feeling like joy and happiness and nothing more. And you said success to you meant, every night you went to bed and how you felt about the whole day. So my question to you is, so success, my understanding was success was something that you achieved in your life, right? So it's not an everyday thing. So you're saying that success is not a destination, but an experience or experiences. Can you please elaborate on that?
So I'll tell you a story, right? This might be a longer answer than you expect, but one of the issues that I've found with empathy is, as much as I love that term, empathy, one of the problems I've seen is, एउटा एक्जाम्पल म गाडीबाट गइरहेको थिएँ अनि त्यसपछि एकजना हुन्छ नि दाइले तरकारी बेचिरहनु भएको थियो. But he looked so happy. अनि I live near लगनखेलको तरकारी बजार अनि त्यहाँ सानैदेखि गइरहेको हो म. अनि I talk to दाइहरू दिदीहरू अनि उहाँ चाहिँ जहिले पनि खुसी क्या यो मान्छे, इज अलवेज सो ह्याप्पी। अनि तर मेरो हिसाबले हेर्नुभयो भने मैले एम्पथी प्र्याक्टिस गरेँ भने त म त्यो मान्छेको ठाउँमा भए त कस्तो फिल हुन्थ्यो हो नि त। तर मैले एकचोटि कुरा गरेँ कि तपाईँ जहिले पनि कस्तो खुसी हुनुहुन्थ्यो, अनि उहाँको छेउमा उहाँको छोरी बसेर पढिरहेको थियो क्या। And for him, he was successful. And I shared the same story about my dad as well. He was successful because he was able to give everything to his daughter that he did not have. मेरो छोरीलाई पढाउन सके, म एकदम खुसी छु. So am I someone who's going to decide that he's not successful because he's not riding a Mercedes Benz or a BMW or a Maserati and not living in a fancy three-storied house, you know? And this was actually a very many years ago. तर म चाहिँ कस्तो भयो भने अब अगेन बिकज आई लिभ इन माई ओन वर्ल्ड एज वेल टु सर्टन एक्सटेन्ट वी अल डु म चाहिँ अब मैले एकदम राम्रो पैसा कमायो त्यति बेला चाहिँ 4 वर्ष अगाडि $100,000 वर्षको कमायो भने चाहिँ म खतरा हो लाग्थ्यो। त्यसपछि लाग्थ्यो म कुनै कम्पनी सिइओ भयो भने चाहिँ म खतरा सक्सेसफुल ल डन। त्यसपछि पनि चित्त बुझेन। त्यसपछि म इन्डिया गएर खतरा पोजिसनमा एमएनसीमा काम गर्छु भनेर त्यो पनि गरेँ मैले। एमएनसीमा पुगेँ इन्डियामा, हेड अफ ब्रान्ड एन्ड डिमान्ड इन्डिया भन्यो। ओहो हेड अफ ब्रान्ड इन इन्डिया, खतरा हुन्छ, आई एम सक्सेसफुल। You know that I kept chasing that feeling. And recently, again, when I was going through the spiritual awakening, let's call it personal awakening, when I was living by myself for 7 months, then I thought of that man. And I realized he's so happy. So isn't that what I'm chasing at the end of the day? To feel that happy? So एउटा त एम्पथीको प्रब्लम चाहिँ त्यति बेला के थियो भने मेरो हिसाबले हुन्छ नि कहिले मान्छे देख्दा कस्तो माया लाग्दो भन्छ नि हामीले, तर we don't know if that person is happy. Who are we to decide whether that person is माया लाग्दो or not? So that's why now I know. As I say, that's why in that video I specifically mentioned I've been the CEO of a company. सानै कम्पनी भए पनि कहिलेकाहीँ टाइटल मात्रै भए पुग्छ जस्तो लाग्छ, अनि म ठुलो कम्पनीमा काम गर्छु पनि लाग्छ। There was a point I was making really good money. त्यो पनि छोडेर आएको हो मैले। So त्यति बेला चाहिँ I was like, oh, maybe I'm successful now जस्तो लाग्यो। Or you know, when my dad told me or my mom told me for the first time, I'm so proud of you, छोरी, I was like, oh, is this what success feels like? And then I only made that video when I was fully convinced. So especially अहिले ब्रेक लिएको बेलामा success for me is actually just being happy at the end of the day. दिनभरिको कामले खुसी भएर बस्न पायो भने पो successful हो. Who knows tomorrow if I make $1 million that I'm going to be very happy. Who's going to decide I'm successful? I am. So to get concise about that video, I've realized that me being happy with myself at the end of the day is what success feels like. Success is just a feeling, Nita. You want to become rich, so it makes you happy. You want to become famous, maybe for some validation, but validation भनेको आफूबाट मात्रै चाहिने रहेछ. So success is just a feeling.
सक्सेस इज जस्ट अ फिलिङ। तपाईँले यो भन्दा भन्दै पनि मैले एउटा आफ्नै स्टोरीसँग पनि रिलेट गरिरहेको थिएँ। आफ्नो भन्दा पनि सो म श्रीना अनि हाम्रो इन्टायर टिम नै लास्ट रिजोर्टसँग काइन्ड अफ इम्प्लोइड बाई लास्ट रिजोर्ट भनौँ न। सो दिस इज हामीले चाहिँ मिलेर चाहिँ हामी श्रीना, नबिला, म अनि विश्वेश भन्ने 4जना मिलेर वी क्रिएटेड दिस प्लेटफर्म होइन। सो हामी लास्ट रिजोर्टमा काम गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ वी युज टु गेट अ लट अफ स्टुडेन्ट्स फ्रम दुबई, इन्टरनेसनल स्टुडेन्ट्स, अनि दे वुड गो टु स्कुल क्लोज टु द लास्ट रिजोर्ट, अनि मोस्ट अफ द टाइम दे वुड जस्ट फिल सरी फर नेपाली किड्स बिकज दे वर ओन्ली लुकिङ एट वाट दे डोन्ट ह्याभ। तर अनि फर्केर आएर चाहिँ वुड डु सम डिब्रिफिङ होइन। सो वाट डिड यु एक्सपिरियन्स, वाट डिड यु सी भन्दाखेरि द मेन डिफरेन्स वाज नेपाली बच्चाहरू चाहिँ दे वर जस्ट ह्याभिङ फन। लन्च टाइममा सबैजना क्लासरुमबाट बाहिर निक्लिन्थे, त्यहाँ चाहिँ हुँदैन थियो, भित्रै बसेर त्यो इदर अन आइप्याड्स अर वाट एभर, अनि त्यो हाँसेको खुसी भएको चाहिँ द्याट वाज द मेन डिफरेन्स कि। तर दे स्टिल जजिङ देम बाई वाट दे ह्याड, हुन्छ नि, दे स्टिल फेल्ट सरी फर देम। सो तपाईँले यो भन्दै चाहिँ आई कुड रिलेट टु द्याट सो मच। तर अब यसो तपाईँले भनेकोबाट मैले केही सिक्ने हो भने चाहिँ सो मेबी इट्स अ गुड थिङ टु इभ्यालुएट यो एभ्री डे। आज चाहिँ म सक्सेसफुल भएँ कि भइनँ, देन मेबी सक्सेस इज नट वान थिङ। सो आज सक्सेसफुल हुनसक्छ, भोलि अनसक्सेसफुल पनि हुनसक्ला, आफ्नो प्लान अनुसार दिन जान नसक्ला होइन। सो we just look at every day as how it went, and then see how you feel about it, right? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
No, I was just going to add, you know what's really funny? Because I've always been an ambitious person, and I'm sure you can tell a little bit from how I've pursued my professional career as well. So I just don't want to be mistaken by saying, to be happy with, because I think success is an aggregation of everyday ko kaam nita. You don't become successful overnight, but at the same time, I don't mean to be content hunu र still pursue bigger goal ma चाहिँ there's always a difference. I just wanted to quickly add that because I, of course, there's a contradiction to be content with the day's work and I'm still someone who's pursuing career aggressively to some extent. But just being happy with your day's work doesn't mean you're always settling. You also dream big for yourself. So finding that right balance.
Pranaynaजीले चाहिँ यदि सक्सेसलाई if you're defining it that way, then what does money mean for you?
Money is means to an end. That's pretty much what money is. You need money, of course. You do need it to live a comfortable life, to be able to provide for people you love. Money is important, but money at the end of the day is means to an end. What I personally, and again, what I say doesn't necessarily have to be something that everybody agrees upon. Of course, there can always be conflict. But you want to get money so you can buy things, you can experience things to make you happy. So at the end of the day, everyone is just chasing that feeling of satisfaction and happiness. So that's why I think money is just a means to an end. And it's not something I talk a lot about. I don't think I've ever said I wanted to be rich since I was a kid. There's something I've never said. I still don't. I don't think I'll ever think of it that way. I think money will just be a side effect of the hard work and things that I pursue in my life. I know my worth. I know what my work is worth. So that's definitely there. But I'll just repeat this again. Money for me is just a means to an end. It's not a destination.
Okay. Otherwise, just a side effect of the hard work that you do. Nice. What are some of the craziest things that you've done in your life? Of course, whatever can be shared in public.
I like how you added whatever can be shared in public. Crazy things. I'm not really sure what exactly you mean, but this is something I ask my team a lot. So any company I've worked with, you should ask the team members. I usually ask them this question just to get them to feel more comfortable. I tell them, what's one of the craziest things you've done? Craziest things I've done. Well, crazy things have happened to me, but like I've done some simple crazy things. Like Australia, I remember going to this one theater to really start shedding this, this layer of insecurity or being really conscious about yourself. So in a theater, I went to watch Rio Banne movie here. It's an animation movie, and they have a lot of songs. And I love dancing. Like I absolutely love dancing. It's something that's very personal and liberating for me. So the theater, there were people there. I got up in the middle of the theater just because in my head, my friend challenged me, and I went right to Purana Halls. It was an old-fashioned theater there. And ठ्याक्कै त्यो सेन्टरको त्यो डिभिजन हुन्थ्यो नि पहिला अहिले पनि हुन्छ. Haven't gone to the movies in a while. Wow, what do movie theaters look like? But the division match, I stood on top of it and I started dancing in the theater. And luckily enough, there were people who were clapping, and some people got up and danced with me. But it really stands out to me because I got to do something that I love, and I was lucky enough that people didn't yell at me and told me to sit down, but I actually got up and danced in the middle of the movie, and there were people dancing with me. So that's one of the craziest things I've done.
Oh, that's super crazy. मैले यतिसम्म चाहिँ एक्सपेक्ट गरिरहेको थिएन तर so that's very very brave of you. If you're going on a long drive, what would be on your I don't know, your iPod or your playlist? What would you listen to?
I am loving this conversation. It's like, oh, I'm loving this conversation. Ooh, okay. So when it comes to music, I don't do anything without music. Whether I'm working, cooking, taking a shower, there's music in anything that I'm doing. So music is like an integral part of who I am. And my taste of music, just to give you a crazy example, it goes from Jagjit Singh to Skrillex. So I listen to like a crazy range. It is not a single genre that I'm really. So it actually, I never listen to the same kind of music over and over again. One of my favorite bands is All J. Wow. Okay, this is gonna be really bizarre. It's All J. There is a particular artist that I've been listening to a lot. Just it's very calm. It's just piano. It's Alexander Strelitzky, and yeah, I absolutely love her music. So it's something that I've been playing a lot lately. But my go-to is all J. So if anyone is into, some, because I love lyrics as well. Mata music matra sundina. I listen to the drums, I listen to the bass, and I listen to the words, and I go and look up the lyrics. So one of the reasons I like all J, some of their songs are so deeply connected to how I feel about the world. So yeah.
Nice, LJ. Nice. Um, okay, let's talk about leadership, Pranayna ji. Leadership is changing. I know यो ग्लोबली नै लिडरसिपको स्टाइल चेन्ज हुँदैछ. पहिला चाहिँ अलिक माचो स्ट्रङ यो खालको लिडरसिप हुन्थ्यो, मोस्टली run by men भनौँ न. अब अहिले चाहिँ इट्स मोर देयर इज अ लट अफ फेमिनिटी इन लिडरसिप, अनि इट्स चेन्जिङ क्वाइट ड्रास्टिकली होइन. पहिलाको ट्रेडिसनल कन्जर्भेटिभ लिडरसिप चाहिँ इट्स बिङ displaced. What does leadership mean to you?
Leadership is actually, for me personally, and something that I've been doing, is being an incredible mentor. Being an incredible mentor. Leadership for me is mentorship. Whenever I have taken up leadership roles, I've always believed that my number one goal is to make the person working with me do the best job that they can possibly do. That's always been my number one goal. So one goal is to help them grow. So for them to do that, we have to help them grow. You have to give them an environment where they are not afraid, right? Where they feel like I can be myself and I can do. But my leadership for me has always been like mentoring. And that's what I've loved. It's leadership is someone who, like, a leader is someone who puts out fires. A leader is someone you can depend on, someone who helps you grow. So leadership has always been like that for me. And grow, भन्ने word चाहिँ specifically that's why I think mentorship, because growth comes under mentorship. But I think growth is important because leadership doesn't always mean someone who's always nice to you. Because I've been mean to people, I've yelled at people, I've been harsh. So mentor भनेको त्यस्तो हो नि त. Someone को जसले गाली गरे पनि they always put your best intention in mind. So that's why as soon as you say leadership, I think of mentoring and all these things like growth, about helping, creating an environment of safety, creating safe space. All of this comes under that, I think. So I know it's not the best word to come up with, but as soon as you said leadership, that's what I think of. Like just becoming an incredible mentor who just gets the best out of people that work with you.
Okay. Leadership is mentoring. So एउटा लिडरको इभ्यालुएसन चाहिँ उसको वर्क भन्दा पनि you evaluate the work of people around her or him, त्यसो भए?
Absolutely, because if you think about it, can you really be a leader without followers? Can you be a leader without subordinates or followers or teammates? Leadership भन्ने word नै is directly related to having followers, having teammates, having subordinates, having that. Because if you don't have that, then you're not a leader. Then you're just a business person, or you're just someone who's getting some job, like doing some work. So leadership, I think, leadership भन्ने term नै, it's based on the kind of following you have. That describes how you a leader or not. So त्यसै त्यो कारणले चाहिँ absolutely. And that's the same reason why I think it's not your work necessarily. It's also the kind of work that you're able to get. Because if you think of if I think about my role, right? What I did in my leadership roles as CEO or CBO भनेको मैले दिनदिनै एकदम मेहनत गरेर काम गर्ने होइन कि. Most of my job required getting into meetings and asking people, यो भयो, यो भयो, यो गर्यो, गरेन, कसरी गर्न सकिन्छ. And because I've been there, majority of my days looked like that. There were hardly days where I was actually doing it. त्यो पनि गर्नुपर्छ, leader भएर you have to set examples, you have to get on the ground, get your hands dirty, show them how to do it. But if you look at leadership, भनेको, how successful you are as a leader is always a long-term thing. You can't figure it out in 3 months, 6 months. At the end of the day, financial reports पनि हुन्छ नि. That describes or that really defines how you are as a leader. So, and that is always an accumulation of everybody's work. So definitely leadership is all about how your team is performing.
Okay, leadership is about how your team is performing. But as a leader, म चाहिँ यदि भनौँ न, if I'm helping everyone around me grow, so they're going to get better at it. And if I'm afraid of being displaced by people around me, or replaced, भनौँ न, displaced भन्दा पनि replaced by someone else, त्यस्तो किसिमको leaderलाई चाहिँ what would you say? They don't want people around them to grow because he's afraid of insecure about his own position.
Oh, this is so incredible. I was actually going to do another video the week after about that, about one of the most important things. The two most important things I think, and I know, and I really believe that a leader needs is awareness. You have to be aware. You have to be very, very aware. You have to be the most aware person in the company. And second is you have to be secure. My argument when we talked about racism and sexism, I was talking about if you're secure, you're confident, you automatically become a better person and you're not, projecting it on other people. To be honest, I have met a lot of people who are like that. And in Nepal, this is one of the biggest problems I see. There are a lot of departments, हामीले hiring गर्दा गाह्रो हुने काम चाहिँ के भन्दाखेरि जो मान्छे म्यानेजर पोजिसनमा हुन्छ उहाँले नसिकाइदिने के आफ्नो तलको मान्छेले यति चाहिँ मै गर्छु लाइक कुनै कुनै सफ्टवेयर स्पेसिफिकली फाइनान्स डिपार्टमेन्ट चाहिँ आई सॉ दैट अ लट like Tally host, yes, Swastik, the softwares that we use, they weren't training their subordinates when it came to actually using the software on a day-to-day basis or creating reports. And it came from a place of insecurity. And this is what I believe, right? I don't believe a lot in saying things to a lot of people. Like, these leaders that I've met, most of the times I'm not in a position to give them advice because it's always unsolicited advice. They don't want to hear it. So something that I believe in is showing by practice, right? Practice before you preach. For me, I've always believed in being that kind of leader first and leading by example. So if you see the position that I've been, the thing that I've been the proudest of and that I hold so dearly, it's like my medal of honor. It's the kind of recommendations I get from, most of the recommendations I have on LinkedIn are from teams that worked with me. They're my team, not necessarily from my bosses, not necessarily from the investors or the board of directors. I've received it from them. So the one thing that I would do is I would like to lead by example. And hopefully whatever I've been able to do in my career, I'll be able to do it more and I'll be able to do it better. So my advice for them is just to be more secure and really realize that how great you are as a leader is really defined by the number of people that grow with you. Not under you, they grow with you. Because a leader also needs to constantly grow. So I would like to lead by example, to be honest.
Okay, the kind of leader you are is defined by the number of people that grow with you. Nice. And you also talked about awareness. You have to be the most aware. You said, what do you mean by awareness? What is awareness?
Awareness is a lot of self-realization and being really observant. Awareness भनेको, like if you're specifically talking in terms of leadership, then it's when you're in a leadership position, you have to know exactly what's happening in the company, in each department, whether it's marketing, sales, operations, finance. You have to know what's happening throughout the organization. So awareness भनेको एउटा चाहिँ एकदम superficial level मा what's happening in each side with each department in knowing it in detail and being very observant. But the other thing I mean by awareness is awareness of people and yourself. Aware भन्नाले, like, how do you realize you're being sexist if you're aware, right? Should I say this or should I not say this? Awareness भनेको त्यो so superficial level मा त भइहाल्यो organizational awareness. Second level मा चाहिँ when you're aware of your actions, your words. So to give you a quick example, something I have learned recently नै हो, it's I'm an intentional angry person. अनि this ties up to awareness कसरी भन्दाखेरि म कहिले पनि एकैचोटि रिसाएर रियाक्ट गर्दिनँ. रिसाउँछु म. I've been angry with the team. हुन्छ नि कहिलेकाहीँ कराउनु पर्छ. They make mistakes and you don't want to brush it aside because how do you grow if you don't realize you've made mistake or how to make it better? So I've lost my cool with people, but I never do it not intentionally. अनि त्यो भनेको चाहिँ कस्तो भनेको I always check कसरी भन्ने, कसको अगाडि भन्ने. So these are things that I do before I lose my cool in front of. So something I do is called intentional anger. And that is, I think these are things that awareness, you have to be aware to be able to practice that. If you're not aware that you're getting angry, what are you going to do? You're just going to react. So awareness, ekdam self-realization pani ho. Like when you're like, to give, okay, I'm just going to give one example. It's like when you are giving someone a compliment, like feedback as a leader, you want to do that in front of a lot of people. You want to do it in front of teams. Suppose marketing manager ko ekdam tarif garna la cha ya executive ko tarif garna la cha, but you want to do it in front of the marketing department or even in front of more departments. Now, if you want to yell at someone, if you are not aware, you'll again lose your calm in front of everyone, right? Pura sabैजना company ko agadi ni त्यो मान्छेलाई कराएर हुँदैन. Awareness भनेको अब मलाई रिस उठेछ, यो मान्छेसँग कुरा गर्न जरुरी छ, to invite them to your office and just tell them what needs to be said. But awareness, if you're not aware, you will not know whether you're doing it in public, whether you're doing it in front of the right people. So it's a lot of self-awareness as well. So a balance of both.
Awesome. मैले intentional anger भनेर चाहिँ first time सुनिरहेको छु. अनि again, another tip for me, very beautifully said. Yeah, if you're not aware, you're going to misuse your anger or use it in a wrong way. If you're aware, you can use it in a more productive win-win situation. Everyone can benefit from it. Also, I like what you said about compliments. सबैको अगाडि compliment गर्नु. That's also something that I've learned quite a while ago. खालि यहाँ यस्तै हो कि हाम्रो कल्चरमा चाहिँ तारिफ धेरै नगर्नु फेरि टाउको माथि चढ्छ भन्ने किसिमको फिडब्याक पनि आइरहेको हुन्छ हैन. त्यो चाहिँ इट्स क्वाइट वियर्ड. तर भेरी नाइस. ब्रान्डिङको बारेमा चाहिँ so what are some of the practices you see in Nepal regarding branding that you think is a little uneducated, त्यसले राम्रो भन्दा पनि नराम्रो गरिरहेछ because there's too little knowledge and they're not के भन्ने, they're not willing to invest in a professional भनौँ न. अनि त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ you see any of that? अनि काहीँ यसमा चाहिँ would you be able to enlighten us a little bit and help us?
So I love the word branding. One of my specialization is branding strategy. So this is, I could talk about this. I actually do like 8-hour workshops on branding. So just strategy alone. So this is very interesting. There are two problems I actually see. Also the startups ma pani huncha, MNCs ma pani huncha, because I've done branding strategy for MNCs, right? प्रब्लम चाहिँ सिमिलरै छ. जुन साइजको भए पनि एसएमई होस्, स्टार्टअप होस् या एमएनसीको प्रब्लम चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ भने एउटा त we get lost in the message भन्नाले. So one thing that I do when I do branding strategy is if your company was a person, who would it be? किनकि हरेक कम्पनीको पर्सनालिटी हुन्छ क्या. अनि कस्तो भने अनि when you talk about, so branding always has to have a specific target audience. I'm going to get a little bit technical. यसमा चाहिँ has to have a very specific target audience. हामी target audience भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ most of the companies that I ask them what's your target audience, they'll always say everyone. But you can never have a messaging or a personality that is for everyone. भन्नाले to target audience को example सोच्दाखेरि चाहिँ, so I was doing a workshop recently. So I was talking to the company. Are you going to be a company that says ए ब्रो प्रडक्ट किन्ने होइन त या एप डाउनलोड गर्ने होइन कि आउनुहोस् न एप डाउनलोड गर्नुहोस्. Now, if you tell me that your company को target audience is everyone, you will not know whether to say आउनुहोस् न. एक दिन you will write a post on Facebook saying आउनुहोस् न, download गर्नुहोस् न, use गर्नुहोस् न, and second day you'll be like, hey bro. Now what happens to an audience is it's a little lost on me, right? Who is this product for? It's not specific and targeted enough. To be really effective with your branding strategies, तपाईँको umbrella companies हुन्छ छ, because when you're an MNC, you have different products that cater to different market. You can have different messaging, but the umbrella company messaging has to be very, very steady, and it has to be very particular. That's when it's really effective. So one of the problems that I see is you always think everyone is your audience and your brand doesn't have a personality. You need to have that to have a very successful, not just successful, but to be very relatable, because it's the same message. It's very consistent. So you win my trust because you're so consistent as well. So there are a lot of, again, I can talk about this for a very long time, but there's a lot of great things that come out of that consistency. So your branding has to, like, you have to be very clear in terms of त्यसैले branding strategy गर्नु जरुरी हुन्छ. अर्को कुरा चाहिँ के देख्छ भने मैले यसै it falls in line with this, my former point is that people think of very short term goals. Branding is never short term. It's the story of your brand. It's who your brand represents. It's why did you start the brand? What does the company represent? अनि कस्तो हुन्छ भने कहिलेकाहीँ हामीले ब्रान्डिङ सोच्दाखेरि चाहिँ मार्केटिङ सोच्छौँ. Marketing is a part of branding. Branding is who, again, like I said, it's who you are as a company. It's what is the story that your company is trying to tell. So when we think of branding, we can't just think of short-term goals. We always have to think of the bigger picture. So कहिलेकाहीँ कस्तो हुन्छ भने, like I said, it connects to the former point. You will launch a campaign, होइन, and campaign चाहिँ कस्तो different हुन्छ क्या, कुन companyको campaign नै बुझ्दैन कहिलेकाहीँ हामीले, and it's very short term. Suppose like dhamaka sale bhanam or something, it's a very short term campaign. It's not consistent. There's not a story that you're trying to tell, and you're not thinking of the long term strategy. So the two things that I see as a little bit of a problem, because some of these brands have been successful, they are selling products, so it's not like it's not going to be successful. But to really know who your target audience and be very specific with it for your umbrella brand, and त्यसपछि चाहिँ actually think of campaigns and your strategy in general for long-term planning, not just do it for short spurts.
Okay, strategies for long-term planning. Are there any Nepali brands that inspire you at the moment?
Okay, to be honest, I don't have a specific answer for you because I haven't been here for a very long time, होइन. Been भन्नाले त धेरै त भएको छैन, 1 वर्ष मात्र भयो, but I think the marketing landscape has changed quite a bit till then. And the first companies that I can think of that do branding well are not Nepali companies. Okay? Encel भनेको खासै नेपाली company होइन. If I think of Coke, it's not a Nepali company. You know, the ones that spend a lot of money. To be honest, सानो startups हुन्छ नि, I think they've done a great job with marketing recently. The number of startups that I see that are coming up, I think they're doing a much better job in terms of branding. I can think of so many names, to be honest. If to be on the companies that I can think of that have, I'm really lost with this answer. But there are a few startups that have been doing it really well. To be honest, the one company that I think that has been relatively consistent with their marketing, I mean, they're also dabbling into the international market right now, Gold Star shoes. I think they're pretty consistent when it comes to branding. Okay? Like as a customer, I know what to expect from Gold Star. They're not saying they're a premium brand. They're saying they're an affordable brand that does quality shoes. For that price, you're getting good quality stuff. And they brand themselves well. They're not trying to be something they're not. So I should have given this answer quite. It has Gold Star athyo dimagma, but then I was thinking of, because there are a lot of things, there are a few things I would change. Because that's I'm so passionate about it. But Nepali brand ma चाहिँ Gold Star shoes really sticks out to me अहिले.
Okay, nice. So if Gold Star wants some consultations, they know who to contact. Obviously, creativity भनेको चाहिँ it's very important in your profession. How do you harness creativity, or do you think creativity is something that you're born with? If you don't have it now, you're never going to have it.
I have a controversial, it's not controversial. To some extent, I do think that creativity is something that you're born with, to some extent. But like any other skill, I think you can work on it. We're so fortunate to live in a day and age where everything is available at the palm of our hands. It's right there at your fingertips. If I want to learn anything, I just have to YouTube it. It's free resources as well. It's all available. So I think it is something you're born with, but that doesn't mean you cannot learn it, because I think creativity is also something that can be learned. Like for example, if you think of creativity, because मेरो side को creativity it's mostly concepts. मेरो creative side it's mostly concepts, ideas and how it should look in those terms. That a creative is also a graphic designer who actually converts your concept into a tangible result. Can you learn how to be a graphic designer? Absolutely. Can you learn how to use Photoshop tomorrow and be really great at it? Absolutely. So even though those conceptualization, all of that is something I feel like you're born with, however, turning those concepts into tangible results right now, it's something that is anyone can do and learn and become as well. So
Okay, nice. हामी चाहिँ 1 घण्टाको मार्क पुगिसकेको छ, तर I still have a few more questions if that's okay.
sure. I mean,
Okay.
like, this is optional for people, so they can always skip ahead and stop watching. So it's all good. We do our thing and we leave it up to people.
Absolutely. So what are you doing every day or regularly that's making you a better professional or better at your career?
For some reason, I thought you were going to say is making you a better person. Um, some I've become more aware of it now. I've known it for a very long time. I've come to know and accept it a lot more, that if you're a better person, you automatically become better at everything in your life. The better person banale, self acceptance is something that I've had to work really hard on. Like I said, like just I've learned how to be kind to myself not that long ago. It wasn't something that I was very good at or learning. So some things that I do every day is something that my dad taught me when I was very young, is look after myself more, which means doing yoga, meditating. I meditate every day without fail. But you know how I was saying, to be a good leader, you have to be aware. Meditation is a brilliant tool to become aware generally as well. So I meditate every day. I read a lot. I read a lot. So there's always a book that I have whenever I'm traveling, whatever I'm doing. So I always read. Recently, I'm actually reading. I don't know if you'd ask me this later, but I'm reading What Happened by Hillary Clinton, because I think whatever people have views that people might have towards her, what she's done in her life is exemplary. It's unmatched, to be honest. I don't think anyone's been able to match what she's been able to do in her career. So I read a lot, I meditate, I do yoga, and because I'm I'm really grateful for it now. I'm finally home, so I spend time with people I love and people who are easy to love and absorb as I can. And like I said, it's helped me become a better professional as well. Because how can I be a great leader if I'm not improving myself, right? So even every day, I'm not going for these strategy sessions or I'm not working necessarily. So I make sure that I'm reading things, and I read as much as I can. Books matra, even online, like LinkedIn, I read a lot on what's happening in the industry. So I would like to, again, awareness. I like to be aware of what's happening in the industry globally, in Nepal, Napani. So I read a lot on news, but articles by HBR or Times. Just पनि article आयो भने, if I find it relevant, I read it. So reading is number one, and looking after my physical and mental health. These three things.
Okay, nicely said. How can I be a great leader if I'm not improving myself? Um, Okay. If you look back at your 11 years of career, you've been working since 11 years, you've said. तपाईँको 3 of the proudest moments, के त्यो moments सोच्दाखेरि पनि that brings smile to your face?
These are not big milestones. They're not 3. They're actually very simple moments that have actually made me very, very proud. And I take pride in little things. It's something this term I use called small wins. I celebrate my small wins. Nepal, okay, I'll name one. यो इको इन्फिनिटीमा काम गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ एकचोटि I went to this मन्त्रालयमा Ministry of Transport had actually held joint like a discussion session. It's like an open forum. अनि त्यहाँ जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ all men, probably in their late 40s or above that. So I was not just the only woman, but I was really young. अनि कस्तो भन्दा एकजना अर्को एकजना मात्र महिला हुनुहुन्थ्यो अनि उहाँ चाहिँ जर्नलिस्ट हुनुहुँदो रहेछ अनि त्यो सेन्ट्रल टेबलमा चाहिँ सबै एक दुईजना मन्त्री हुनुहुन्थ्यो ट्राफिक पुलिसको चिफ हुनुहुन्थ्यो अनि म त्यो दिन एकदम ओरेन्ज कोट लगाएर थिएँ कि बिकज आई वाजन्ट प्रिपेयर्ड ट्विटरमा दे लेट इट आउट अनि दे इन्भाइटेड प्राइभेट सेक्टरको पार्टिसिपेन्ट आई वाज ओन्ली वुमन हु स्याड अनि म चाहिँ के गरेँ भने आई एन्टर्ड द रुम अफकोर्स एभ्री वान लुक्ड बिकज एभ्री वान वाज इन दाउरा सुरुवाल अनि ब्लू ग्रे एन्ड ब्ल्याक एन्ड आई वाज देयर इन माई ओरेन्ज कोट and I went and sat on the table again. And I actually engaged in the discussion. So when I say proud, I could say that one of the first female automotive head in Nepal, but that doesn't mean anything. It wasn't my dad's company. It wasn't my, like my partner's company. It was something that I got just because the board of directors found my resume suitable. So, to walk in and really participate in this discussion, I was so proud of myself that day because one, they weren't expecting it. And when I open my mouth, I usually it takes people by surprise. I felt proud that day, not because of that moment, but of what had led me there and the fact that I was sitting on that table and then participating in that discussion and I took them by surprise. I was like, I was very nervous again because I was like, अब भन्नु कि नभन्नु हात उठाउँदाखेरि पनि हुन्छ नि अलिकति of course it stays with me. मैले मुख खोलेर बोले भने मैले बोलेको चिज has to be relevant, has to make a point. So I was like, okay. I was really proud that day. But I've had so many moments like that. When Nada Association हेर्नुभयो भने if you look at a picture, I'm not just talking about gender, look at the age group and look at the kind of experience that is there. So it makes me really proud. But you asked for 3. The other 2 are not big moments, but it always makes me so proud to see people that have worked with me grow. Like मैले जुन चाहिँ कम्पनीमा काम गरेँ, मेरो team members, when they get promoted in a different company or they get a better job, the fact that they tell me, like they write to me and say, hey, I got this job and thank you so much for helping me become better or develop self. Oh, it fills me with so much pride and no one else has to know that, but I do. Like one of the recommendations that someone wrote for me on LinkedIn was they became more confident. They finally started speaking out. So one of them wrote that and that makes me so proud. So if you ask my professional milestones, it's not position, it's not money, it's not like, oh, I won an award for best dealer in the world. Like we won the best marketing award for new, okay? But I'm never going to mention things like that because it's the whole team. For me personally, like something that I take and makes me so proud when I think of my career is definitely the few messages that I get from people that tell me that I've helped them in their career. I'm successful because of that.
Awesome. सुन्दाखेरि पनि very, very inspiring. Pranayna ji, what are, I will not say 3 anymore, किनभने 3 is a bit tricky number. So what are 2 of your strongest self-belief that makes you you?
Huh. Wait, what exactly do you mean by like self-belief?
I can give you
I
an
can give you.
example. For me, I would say, um, म साइकल गर्दाखेरि आई युजुअली there's a म थाकेँ भने पनि there's a voice in my head saying you're not the kind to give up. That's my self belief. So what strong self beliefs drive you?
Huh. It's a bit of a tricky question, and I apologize in advance if I don't answer your question, like exactly how you're thinking of the answer. But the reason I find this question tricky is, I'm an accumulation of so many experiences and learnings and traits. Because when you say self belief, it probably could be a mantra that you really believe in. Your mantra चाहिँ आफूले आफूले भनिराख्यो भने खतरा हुन्छ भनेर. Um, I think of traits particularly, like the one trait that I have, and it, it might be an answer that you're thinking of is I'm very resilient. The resilience भन्ने चिज चाहिँ I learned it from my father, my mother, and my three sisters. And resilience was something I learned from watching them, and then I learned from practicing it. Like having gone through the experiences that I did, being in foreign country, being told to use obscene words for or so one thing that I know that I am is I'm very resilient. And resilience भनेको it's like I don't give up. I don't talk myself down. So I'm resilient. That is something that I believe and I know now because I've proven it to myself more than anyone else. And the other thing is, that's why I think it's a tricky question. It's that I love that I care. What I mean by that is there was a long time in my life that I was told that you shouldn't care that much. Especially business world, professional life has been a major chunk of my life. भन्छ नि धेरै care गर्यो भने त you can't be a great business person नि. My dad and mom still say that sometimes. तिमीले business गरेर खाँदैन भन्छिन्छ के. Because you care and it bothers you, bring your work home and अर्काको business भयो पनि you worry about it, you worry about your team. Sons छैन नि. But it's taken me time to accept that it's okay to be like अघि नै भन्नुभएको थियो, it's a disruptive world of leadership where it's not just masculine features that are required. अहिलेको leadership conversation, maybe we talk about empathy, we talk about caring, we talk about becoming better listeners. Like I don't think even 5 years ago we would have laughed at someone saying to be a great leader you would have to be a great listener. People would have been like, are you serious? Empathetic leadership is now something that we talk about. But that is what I mean, like accepting my feminine traits like that and telling myself that I'm a good leader because of it. त्यो चाहिँ मलाई personally, in my personal journey, it took time for me to accept. Where even if people were telling me, why are you spending so much time with your teammates? To बसेर one-on-one session, I still do it. I do a lot of one-on-one sessions with the teammates. Why is wasting so much time? Why aren't you going out talking to more investors? Why aren't you doing more business development? Get out of the office. So that the self-belief, that is good to care. It's good to, the word that we use is emotional. You're emotional huncha भन्छ नि. But what does emotional mean is that you care, you're more empathetic. That is something that I took time to accept, and it's a self-belief that I actually believe in now. That's good to be that way.
Truly inspiring. Thank you. Exactly what I was looking for. Yeah, absolutely very strong beliefs indeed. Pranaynaji, what is one thing कि अब यसो तपाईँको करियर हेर्दाखेरि 11 years ago मलाई चाहिँ यो नलेज मलाई त्यति बेला भएको भए चाहिँ it would have helped in my career. त्यति बेला मलाई त्यो नलेज थिएन, त्यति बेला भएको भए राम्रो हुन्थ्यो भन्ने चाहिँ, is there anything like that other people can learn from?
Wow. I focus a lot more on personal story and growth now than what I did then. I can talk to you about industry jargons, Pannale. There are new words that are coming up like industry convergence, one new word. Like these are all industry jargons that we use. So I could give you like very technical things that are very business applicable, like digital disruption months. But what does that mean? If I knew that 11 years ago, I would have been a much better business leader because I would have thought of industry convergence and cross sector. I actually don't want to give answers like that, because something that I would have known then, that would have really helped me, is these personal learnings that I've actually had. These personal learnings of self-acceptance, this personal learning of you are who you are, accept that, be kind to yourself. Though my parents, like both my mom and dad, सानैदेखि भन्नुहुन्थ्यो आफूले आफूलाई माया गर, त्यो सिक्नलाई धेरै टाइम लाग्यो के मलाई. अनि रिसेन्टली सिकेको के मैले खास भन्ने हो भने, सुन्दाखेरि पनि I didn't learn it. But I think had I had that, I would have been a much better professional as well. Because the worst leaders in the world, for me, are the insecure ones. They really are. And when you are secure in who you are, you also want to learn more, but at the same time, you are not insecure. You don't lash out on people. You become a better leader. So for me, even to have been a better professional then, because I dealt with a lot of clients initial parts of my career. It was a customer facing job. I did other jobs as well. I used to do door-to-door sales for Red Cross. I used to do telemarketing for solar panels. So I used to do a lot of these side jobs as well. But I think what would have made me better is if I would have been a lot more confident then, as I am now, and I've accepted myself a lot more, I think I would have just been a happier person. And that would just have resulted me in being a better salary negotiator. I would have negotiated my salary better then. I would have been more successful in closing a lot more deals. So it's none of these technical jargons, to be honest. None of these books as well. It's a lot more to do with personal growth.
Awesome. Salary negotiation को कुरा गर्नुभयो. हाम्रो पनि अहिले women मात्र हैन, मेनमा पनि it's a cultural thing. We don't negotiate as much as we should भन्ने मैले पनि पढेको छु. So तर त्यसमा म अहिले जान चाहिँ सायद probably too late हैन. What are few of the things that you think you still need to work on your skill set, whether it's personal or professional?
Everything almost. I still have something to learn and more to learn in everything. The world is changing at a rapid pace now compared to ever in the past. Rapid pace when it comes to technological advancement. Like when the pandemic hit, people who didn't know how to use like video recording, just doing calls on Zoom, you had to learn it immediately. So personally or professionally, personally, I want to continue what I'm doing and learn that even more. Listen to more inspiring people, talk to people like you to, grow on a personal level as well. So I want to continue doing that. I want to meditate more and I want to do that. But professionally, I want to become better with technology because I love technology. I love understanding the workings of any software or understanding it better. So something that I need to do more and faster is adapt to the disruptive world that we live in. Everything. So, like I was saying, industry jargons. Industries are changing at a rapid pace. Like cross-industry convergence is the day and age. I think I'm fitted well because I call myself a generalist. It has become an era of generalist. There's a book that was in Bill Gates. You know how he recommends books at the end of every year. One of those books is Generalist, Specialist. So how can I personally be a better generalist? Jack of all trades was not something that was encouraged before, but is now. So professionally, I want to learn more, and it's not something specific. Like I said, I want to be aware of industry news. I want to know technology better. So it's not something specific that I can give you an answer for. It's getting better at all of these segments that come out or is needed in the professional world earlier.
Okay, I call myself a generalist. मैले यो word चाहिँ आज सिकेँ र I'm falling in love with this word. त्यही त एउटा लाइफ पाइन्छ किन एउटा कुरामा स्पेशलाइज गर्नु when you can try out different things हैन. Towards the end of the session, Pranayna ji, so I've got 2 more questions only. So it's up to you how fast you want to close the whole thing down. मलाई चाहिँ पर्सनली इट्स बिन एन अमेजिङ सेसन. मैले धेरै धेरै कुरा सिकिरहेको छु आज चाहिँ. अरू बेला पनि सिकिरहेको हुन्थेँ. सो दिस इज गोइङ वे बेटर देन आई एक्सपेक्टेड. So these 2 questions I usually don't miss out with anyone. So how do you deal with failures when things don't go according to plan? There's a lot of expectations of you, and then you let everyone down, and then it's natural that all of us, no matter how positive you are, you get into this negative self-talk spiral where you're kind of like, you're worthless or whatever. For some people it lasts for a long time. For some people they're able to get out of it quite easily. So for you, what's your strategy?
When you're feeling really low about yourself, I used to try to fight it a lot. Like, when you're feeling low, you're like, oh, look at me. I am feeling low. I can't even get out of this. You have to be patient with yourself. There's something that I tell my friends quite a bit. I tell them, talk to you like you would talk to your best friend. You have to talk to yourself that way. We're a lot nicer to our friends than we are to ourselves. The only way to be able to get out of failure sometimes is you have to practice kindness first. And don't rush yourself to get over it. I actually talk about it now, but I still find it a tad bit embarrassing sometimes. So I actually participated in Miss Nepal. And I lost. So I got the Miss Personality, but why that loss stands out, why that failure stands out to me is because it was such a national thing, right? It was because they won't be as invested in my professional career, my relatives per se, but everyone was so invested because it was such a big deal then. It was the kind of failure that was a lot more public, and a lot of people knew about it, because my other failures have been more professional failures, right? Like maybe I didn't get a job or a promotion or the salary that I negotiated for. So there have been failures like that. I mean, failure is inevitable. Everybody fails. But one of the things I remember is I love Oprah. She's someone I've always looked up to. And I was like, Oprah is Oprah because she has failed. Like, how would I have been able to relate to her if she didn't come from what she did? We celebrate people more when it's like rag to riches story. We're like, wow, how did she do that? Because there's so much more learning. Because if someone is rich and they're successful, you of course look up to them, but learning is not that expansive when it comes to experiences like that. So, something that helped me is actually look at people who failed. People you look up to, people you love have actually failed. So look at those examples. But before you can do any of those strategies, like talk to more people, you have to first just be kind and patient with yourself. Don't try to rush the process of healing, because when you fail, of course, you're human, your ego will get hurt. It's okay. Just be as nice to yourself as you would to a friend, and take time. You don't have to get over it in a day. Like सबैजनाको आफ्नै process हुन्छ. तर त्यो process you can only begin if you're kind to yourself. Then you look at people you love and admire. Trust me, there are millions of stories out there of people who failed. Like, name one person who didn't at some point that you love or looked up to. And just remember that everybody's failed at some point. It could be a Bollywood star, a Hollywood star. I mean, anyone you think of, they've failed. No one becomes a success overnight. So 2 particular points.
Awesome. त्यो trick जहाँ चाहिँ you said talk to you like you talk to your best friend. Yeah, quite easy to do and quite easy to keep in mind. And त्यसपछि चाहिँ you look at your role models and how they've overcome their failures. Awesome tips. Last question, Pranayna ji. भोलि चाहिँ you wake up to be 15 again, with all the knowledge that you have today. How would you do things differently, or would you do things differently?
I'm going to be so cliche and say no. Absolutely not. The one thing that I would do a lot more is dance more. I would dance a lot more. Even once I started my professional career journey more, I would have danced a lot more than I actually did. But to be completely honest, and I mean this from my heart, there's nothing else I would have done differently except dance more.
Dance more. Awesome answer. मैले चाहिँ एउटा TED talk हेरेको थिएँ जहाँ चाहिँ he talks about it's I think one of the most popular TED talks हो भन्छ होइन. He's talking about school system जहाँ चाहिँ math, science चाहिँ compulsory हुन्छ भने dancing पनि equally compulsory गर्नै पर्छ भन्थ्यो कि उसले किनभने everything about school is above your shoulders. अनि dance चाहिँ it's should be something that should be compulsory भन्थ्यो. So yeah, we're at the end of the session. Thank you so much. I had an awesome time. Awesome time भन्दा पनि मैले चाहिँ यसलाई फेरि एकताल हेरेर I should be taking notes. I learned so much, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers will learn from it as well. अनि हाम्रो स्टाफले पनि obviously श्रीनाल त पछाडि नोट लेखेर नै बसिरहेछ अनि so thank you so much Pranayna ji. And if I've missed any questions and हुन्छ नि यो question चाहिँ किन नसोध्या होला जस्तो लाग्छ भने चाहिँ please feel free to answer that question. अनि so thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me on this, and it was a lot more insightful for me because you know what, I think there's some tips that I gave कि like last time मैले empathy को video बनाउँदाखेरि चाहिँ मैले सानो कुरा भनेको थिएँ कि it's always the small things that matter more, like when you pay attention to someone, when you make someone feel heard or seen and make them feel validated. And one of the things I tell them is repeat what they say. I just wanted to say, Bhavanda, you do it so brilliantly. And I don't think, you know, my interview or my conversation will only be as insightful, as awesome as the kind of questions you ask me. It's run by you. So for this to have been a great session, it's all on you. Like it's all on your shoulders. So thank you so much for asking me such wonderful questions. I loved having this conversation. And thank you for being so wonderful in terms of making me feel seen, heard, and validated. So I really appreciated this. Thank you so much.
So viewers, I would just like to say thanks for watching. We'll come भोलि पनि आउँदैछौँ नबिला बानुले चाहिँ रन गर्दैछ भोलिको सेसन. So please don't forget to watch that show as well. अनि प्रेरणा जीको चाहिँ त्यो लिङ्क्डइनको भिडियोजहरू चाहिँ म चाहिँ रेकमेन्ड गर्छु पर्सनली हेर्नु होला हैन. इट्स भेरी त्यो राम्रो कुरा चाहिँ के छ भन्दाखेरि इट्स शॉर्ट, धेरै टाइम पनि लाग्दैन. दिनको एकचोटि हेर्यो भने पनि मर्निङमा फेसबुकहरू चलाइरहनु भन्दा पनि जस्ट वाच द्याट वान सो. अनि त्यो जुन फर्स्ट एनर्जीका साथ आउनुहुन्छ त्यो वुड गर्दै अनि exactly it fills you up with energy, very positive. It will be a positive start to your day. अनि मेरो recommendation चाहिँ त्यही हो. अनि thank you so much and see you tomorrow.